I don't know about you, but somewhere along my artistic journey, I started carrying these invisible weights. Things like expectations, comparison, imposter syndrome, and thanks to social media, the pressure to produce, share, and then repeat that process. Many times these weights would make me question my capability to do art, or I'd want to wait until my art was perfect before I posted it online. Or I would create art for approval or likes or just to stay relevant. Over the years, though, I've learned ways to, if not completely remove these weights, at least keep them at bay. And that's what I want to share with you today in this video. Some mindset shifts or changes in perspective that have helped me stop getting in my own way and make the biggest difference for me as an artist. So if you've ever felt like quitting, or that you're falling short, or like your art doesn't measure up, and perhaps these will help you as well. Let's dive in. Drawing hands for me is definitely a struggle. And though I've been using watercolor for many years now, I could definitely use more practice in that area as well. I've definitely doubted my artistic abilities over the years, but I don't remember ever saying I can't when presented with a tough subject. Because one thing I've realized is when you say I can't, you've already defeated yourself. You've already decided that it ain't going to happen. But we need to realize that the words I can't aren't a fact. It's fear. It's the fear of failing, or the fear of being bad, or the fear of finding out that maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. But here's something that you may not have heard before. You're allowed to be bad at something before you're good at it. You're allowed to struggle. Not any artist is born knowing how to shade perfectly or design characters or compose with color. Everyone you see online has had to struggle through the awkward, clumsy stages. They too had to mess up hands 1,000 times or do bad watercolor. The only difference is they didn't stop. They kept going. So if your habit is saying I can't when presented with something difficult, try saying this instead. I'm not there yet. Or this is hard right now, but I'm learning. Because you are. Every time you pick up your pencil or open your drawing app, or you scribble something in the margins of your notebook, you're learning. And that counts. That's progress. You don't have to leap, you just have to take the next small step. That's how you build skill. That's how you build your confidence. And that's how you get better. This change right here is probably the biggest one that all these other things I'm going to mention hang on. If you take only one thing away from this video, remember this. Don't say I can't. Once you change that mindset, there's very little you can't do. I can't tell you how many times I've waited to post something online because I didn't think it was ready yet. Or I stopped working on something halfway through because it wasn't matching the vision that was in my head. We all have this idea of perfect that we chase like it's something we can actually reach. Like there's a finish line where we finally say, all right, now it's good enough to share. But you have to realize that perfect doesn't exist. It's a mirage. The closer you get to it, the more it moves. And while you're busy chasing it, you're not making, you're not sharing, and you're not growing. The goal of art is not to be flawless, it's to be real. That imperfect work you do, the stuff with the shaky lines or weird anatomy or off lighting, that is what shows you're trying, that you're pushing yourself. And that's so much more powerful than a piece that looks technically perfect but says nothing. So don't wait to share your progress, that finished sketch, or to post a messy thing. You're not building a portfolio of perfection, you're building a timeline of your growth. Every piece that you finish, with its flaws and all, is one step closer to where you're going. And believe it or not, you're already doing better than you think. Comparison rarely, if ever, results in a positive outcome, especially when it comes to our art. We've all done it. You're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, and you see this amazing piece of artwork, and then you go back to your own art, and suddenly it looks flat or boring or meaningless. But that's the bad thing about social media. You're not comparing apples to apples. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You don't see their rough drafts, their frustrations, or their doubts. You're only seeing the polished end product. You forget that they had to start somewhere too. My favorite posts were the ones where the artist did show their rough drafts, their bad drawings, their first paintings. It was validation to me as an artist that it wasn't just me who was struggling, that even though this artist who I consider to be very well skilled still was struggling even after the many years they've had to practice. Each one of us is an individual. While it's nice to be inspired by other artists, we're not supposed to sound like them, or look like them, or draw like them. Art isn't about being better than someone else. It's about being true. No one can create from your experience. No one else has your vision, your life, your unique blend of influences and emotions. Your work has its own voice, its own texture, story. Sure, it might be raw, it might be weird, it might be quiet, but it's yours. The goal is not to outdo someone else. It's to grow into the most honest version of your artistic self. So admire others, learn from them. Let them inspire you, but never let comparison mute your own voice. This one can be a bit tricky because for many of us, art feels like our identity. I read a comment recently on YouTube where this person was worried about AI because their art was their identity. For me personally, while I put the label of artist on myself, I don't know that I've necessarily struggled with it as an identity. But perhaps that's due to the fact that I am not making any money from my art as a profession. But I imagine for many of you that is a real struggle. So let me say this. You are not your last piece of art. You are not only valuable when you're creating something. You're definitely not your Instagram feed. Give yourself permission to rest, to play, to be more than your productivity. Sometimes the best thing that you and I can do for our creativity is to just step away and live life. You're still going to be an artist when you're burned out. You're still an artist when you're in a slump. And you're still an artist even if you didn't draw today. Who you are, not just what you create, is what makes you an artist. Your creativity is part of you, but it doesn't get to define your whole worth. You're human first, artist second, and protecting that humanity will actually make your art stronger. As I mentioned before, I'm not a working artist, not yet anyways. That's my goal for the near future and something I look forward to. But what I definitely don't want to happen is for money to be the only reason I'm creating art. I want to be sure that I leave room for art that's just for me. Stuff that I do because I wanted to, not because I had to or had a deadline. I want to be able to experiment, to follow whatever weird little ideas I come up with, to make stuff that made me fall in love with art in the first place. While there definitely is room for that in client work, I believe your true creativity comes out in the unfiltered, unpolished, unpaid work that may never see the light of day. So give yourself permission to create without pressure. You need it more than you might think. No matter how much experience I've gathered over the years, I know there's always something more to learn. Maybe it's a new technique or a new medium, or even a new way of seeing the world. Staying curious has kept my art and also my spirit alive. The moment we decide we know everything, we stop evolving. And evolution is the heartbeat of creativity. So if you haven't done so in a while, take a class. Watch some tutorials on YouTube. Drawing from life is a big help. Fill some sketchbook pages with studies. Read books. Talk to other artists, or try something totally outside of your comfort zone. The best artists aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the most curious. And the moment we stop being curious, that's when our spark starts to dim. So keep learning. Stay open to new experiences. Do things artistically that might make you uncomfortable, because when you do those things, that's where the magic happens. There have been days when I hated everything I made, when I wanted to quit, when I felt invisible or doubted myself. Sometimes I even wondered if all this work was worth it. But one thing I've come to realize is that every artist feels this at some point. But the ones who made it kept going anyways. Inspiration isn't going to come every day. You don't have to work to create a masterpiece. You just have to keep showing up. Even if it's one line or one messy page, just one tiny step. Progress is built on the days you don't feel like doing it, on the drawings that stink, on the failures you hate but you can learn from, and I've had plenty of those. Take a break if you need one. Go outside and walk, do some exercise, read a book, do another activity that takes your mind off of art for a little bit. But don't give up. Keep making messy, awkward, imperfect art. Because persistence and not talent is what separates those who grow from those who stop. Even small steps count. A quick sketch that may go nowhere matters. You don't need to sprint, you just need to keep moving. And should you ever forget why you started, remember this. All of us create because there's something deep inside us that needs to come out. We should honor that and protect it, and don't give up. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about showing up, tuning out the noise and remembering your art doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. So keep drawing, keep painting, keep experimenting, keep learning. Even when it's hard, even when it seems no one cares. Just keep going, keep creating, and know you're not alone. I would really love to know your thoughts on the topics discussed in this video and how you keep yourself motivated and fight those inner demons that so often plague us as creatives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.